Are we actually working now? Oh, hooray, it's actually working now. Yay. I don't know why it was not. Oh, and it's doing the thing again where it forgot that I told it not to auto focus. All right, I'm going to fix that. Hello. I'm glad that my camera and YouTube are talking to each other now. YouTube just did not want to. It's just doing the thing where the little wheel goes round and round, and it's like, yeah, I'm totally going to load, except not really. But now we appear to be working, so that is good. Oh my gosh, and now my camera controls aren't working. But anyway, it'll get there. All right, so hello. It's me, Amanda Call. And are we good now? Does it remember now? Okay, good. We stopped autofocusing. Normally, I would be working on one of my comic pages from my webcomic. I have some right around here. I can show you that we uploaded recently. So see, like this one that just went up on the website this past week. There's another one that'll be up tomorrow. The problem is that this is the end of the current chapter. We're on the last few pages of the current chapter, and I haven't started working on the next chapter yet, so I can't show you what is happening on those pages. I can't be working on those pages on stream. Similarly, my other big project, I am the only stuff I have left to do on that, I can't show you on stream. So we're going to do something completely different because I'm not prepared to move forward on Age of Night stuff yet. So we're going to work on something different. I am just kind of like, I have a vague idea of what I'm doing for a design, and we're going to work on it and see if we can get it to work. I pulled up some reference images that I have open on my computer monitor. But yeah, we'll just kind of winging it this evening. Hey, Hungry, thanks so much for joining me. I'm going to turn it this way. I want it this way. I will also say that this is kind of just like this is a mom brain on Christmas time. That's a part of it too, is that it was like I thought about, hey, I need to figure out what I'm doing for my stream. I thought of that a few times over the course of the weekend, but then I always had some other kind of like pressing thing I had to work on, and it didn't happen. It just didn't happen. So we're just kind of winging it. And Jason says, Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah, Jason. How are you doing? Well, you're so welcome. I hope you're having a lovely holiday season. Yeah, we finally got our tree up this weekend, so that's good. Finally. I haven't put the lights on the outside of my house yet, which I really like to have lights on the outside of my house, but they're not up yet. They'll get there soon. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I had this very strange thing happening with the tree where so a couple of years ago, I found these cute little lights that I really liked. I was like, "Oh, those are cute Christmas lights. I want those on my tree." And I was a dingbat and I bought like 2 strands of them. 2 strands for a 7-foot Christmas tree covers absolutely nothing. That gives you nothing. You need like a minimum of like 10 strands of lights to cover a 7-foot Christmas tree, unless you want like the saddest, most pathetic light coverage possible. So I bought those and I was like, well, I do really like them, but obviously they did nothing. So then the following year, I bought like several more. I apparently at no point in this process, by the way, looked up how many strands of lights one should buy if they want to cover a 7-foot Christmas tree. Did I ever do this? No, of course not. So I bought a few more and I still didn't quite finish covering the tree. And then I bought a few more the following year and I was like, okay, I've almost got it this time. Next year, if I just buy like 2 more strands, I'll totally have the amount of coverage that I need and I will not have to fill in with any of the other lights that don't match these lights. And that was going to be this year, right? So this year I was going to buy just like 2 more strands of lights of this type. and it would be totally fine, and all of my lights would match and totally cover my tree and be fantastic. And this year, those lights no longer exist. I have been looking all over the internet. The only place I can find those types of lights by any manufacturer is sold like on eBay, is in like the secondary market. People selling them for a ridiculous markup on eBay. I don't know why. I've looked on like every retailer's website. I've Googled just the type of light. No, gone. They just don't exist this year. So that was a little bit frustrating, and I had to come up with a plan B because, uh, yeah, I looked in a few stores, but also, like, looking on, like, different websites and stuff, and just Googling in general, the fact that this entire type of light does not seem to exist anymore, I was just like, "Okay, I guess we're done with that then, and I will have to come up with a new plan because, obviously, this light is just not happening." It's just, come on, if I had just actually bought the correct number at any point in the years between when I first started getting these lights and this year, would have been fine, but no. Alright, yes, it's a cat. Of course it's a cat. So there's the basic cat face. We're gonna add a little bit more to that in a bit. But yeah, so the type of light, by the way, were warm white C3 LED lights with, like, a frosted finish, like a smooth frosted finish, like the faux ceramic finish. So C3 is like the big old-fashioned C9s, it's like that, except it's tiny. They're very tiny, but they're that same shape, and they were really cute, but they just don't exist. They fell out of trend, and now they just don't exist anymore, I guess. Alright, so I kind of wanna do a little floral design situation around this kitty. So I wanna do like a I did not center this very well. That's okay. We're just kinda winging it. We're gonna do like a fern type thing. I'm just kinda figuring this out as I go. Normally, I would, like, sketch beforehand. Did I do that? No. Textured kind of crystal pattern? No, the solid and frosted. The solid and frosted. That's the type I was looking for because I can find C6s in the, like, crystal textured pattern, and I found, like, a couple of places had the C3s in the crystal textured pattern, and ultimately, what I ended up doing to fill in the space is that I got a couple of long strands of the C6s in the crystal pattern, and I just kind of, like, made sure they were still in the warm white so that they all, like, had the same kind of glow to them, and I just kinda did those on the inside of the tree to, like, fill in the gaps and did the inside inner part of the branches with those and just kinda, like, wound them up the middle, and then did the ones that I actually wanted on the tree on the outside and a little bit more sparsely, so I kind of managed to make it work. I made it work. I was just frustrated because the type of the type of bulb that I wanted just does not exist anymore. Da, 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 da. Doo, 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 doo. I need to look up one more thing. Oh, no, I want... There we go. I look up a particular type of flower. I want to see the leaves, not just the blooms. Thank you very much. It's astonishing how difficult it can be to just find stuff like that. Okay. I have my other... Okay. Yay. All right. There's the basic sketch. I know you guys can't see it super well, but it's a mostly symmetrical design, and I'm gonna try to get it a little more solidified now. We've got a cat with a bunch of floral elements because that's all stuff I enjoy drawing, and that's what I'm doing right now. I do actually have a project in mind for this, so I'm not entirely just playing around. Illusion is just shattered. I mean, it's entirely possible that I'll finish this and then be like, "Nah, it's not gonna work for that anyway." And which ultimately would mean I was just playing around. Although I will also say, for what it's worth, the times where I'm just kind of playing around tend to be the designs that actually, like, sell really well when I go to sell them as prints or merch or whatever. The ones where I was just kinda doing stuff where I was goofing off and having fun, those the ones that people respond to. Imagine that. Also, hi, Jason. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're not frozen up in the North Pole where you live. He doesn't actually live in the North Pole, but close, but close. Very, very northern Canada. This kitty has a very pretty face, but the reference image is a black kitty, so some of the detail is very difficult to make out because the photograph just kinda took all of that took all of that information and it just went like swallowed in darkness. Jason is good, not too cold even now. Strange winter, only 12 degrees Fahrenheit here tonight. Oh, you even did the conversion for me. Thanks. Because you knew I would have no idea if you had said that in Celsius. No idea what you were talking about. I don't know. What is it outside here? My computer says it's 30, but it feels colder. It's going to get chillier than that. Because it's a clear night, so it's going to get chilly. Oh my gosh, I have to tell you guys about the the beaver pond. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So, okay, well, I think it's funny. It's funny if you live in the woods and nothing all that interesting happens. So, it's funny to me. So there's a swamp at the end of my road and that's not that looks goofy. There's a swamp at the end of my road, and there's a culvert that goes from, like, where my road meets the main road, like, my little dirt road meets the main tarred road, right? And right where my road meets the main tarred road, you have that swamp, and there's a culvert that goes under the road so that the swamp can drain into a little stream that goes down into the river. Okay, all of that sounds great, right? Well, of course, because we live in the woods in Maine, beavers are like, "Ah, a swamp and a culvert, you say? Why, this is perfect. I think I will live here." And so we've had issues over the years of beavers, like, building their houses in the culvert. Like, they're like, "Ah, a culvert. It's like a prefab. I'm just gonna move right in." And so the beavers block up the culvert because they build their little beaver dam, beaver house in there, and then the State Department of Transportation, the DOT, has to come and be like, No, you can't live in here, beavers. We're going to evict you." Okay, fine. But they've done this a few times, continue to have issues with the beavers blocking up the culvert and causing flooding, and they keep on breaking the beaver house. And okay, we keep on going through this. Well, then finally, the DOT puts a like grate over the front of the culvert so that the beavers cannot build in the culvert. It is blocked. Well, the beavers obviously are probably not thrilled with that, but whatever. They just go a little bit further up the swamp and build themselves a magnificent dam. This dam like is probably 20, 30 feet long. It goes across the entire length of the swamp from the road to the tree line. This is like the Great Beaver Hoover Dam. It is quite impressive. And because of this, now the water level in the swamp behind the dam is a little bit higher than it had been. Slowed down the flow of water all through the swamp. And so when we had some cold weather, it froze pretty deep a lot faster than it would have normally, which not a big deal, right? Okay, but then after a cold snap, we get beaver's gonna beaver. It's true. It's so true. After a cold snap, then we got a warm spell the and we got a ton of rain, okay? And flooding was gonna be an issue with this rainstorm anyway because we've had snow and we have ice, and then it's like just a ton of rain that came down the last few days. And so because of this sudden rainstorm and the fact that the pond, like the little pond area of the swamp had frozen over so deep, there were these great big ice cakes, and the ice cakes were breaking up, and they got jammed on the grate that the DOT had put in front of the culvert, and so that caused the pond to immediately this, like, swampy area to immediately start flooding and getting really dangerously close to flooding the road, and so the DOT rushes out in the rain yesterday, and they remove their beaver-proof grating so that the ice flow can get through. And all I can think is that the beavers must be sitting back in their little dam like, "It's all coming together." But yes, precisely. Beaver's gonna beaver. Also, I do think it was very funny, one of my sort of neighbors, guy who lives up the road from me, was texting me and was like, "What are they doing taking out that grate?" I'm like, "Oh, because it's flooding," and he's like, "What are they," and I'm like, "We've got an issue with beavers there." They really are, and when I was like, "Yeah, we've got an issue with beavers there," like, it's been a thing for years, and his response was, "Well, the state needs to just, like, trap and relocate the beavers. They have the resources to do that." And this is one of these things that people seem to think that, like, if you remove this one beaver, like, the problem is gonna be solved, and not like this is an ideal beaver spot and we live in the woods in Maine, and if you remove this beaver, another beaver is just gonna come by and be like, "Sweet spot," and build another dam there. Like, your your solution cannot involve just trying to remove the beavers because it will never work. Like, there are always more beavers, I promise you. You are not going to remove every beaver in the state of Maine. It's not gonna work. It's like when people tell me when I'm having issues with foxes eating my chickens, "Just shoot the fox." Okay, sure, because that works super well, and we aren't just gonna end up with another fox who's immediately gonna move in and be like, "Sweet, nice territory with lots of squirrels and chickens. Good thing there's no other fox here to keep me off of this area." Like, guys, that's it doesn't it doesn't work. The beaver, the fox, these are not like random aberrant occurrences that aren't supposed to be here and we just need to remove them. No, they live here. This is where they live. You're not gonna get rid of them all, and you shouldn't try. Jason says when he lived on base, we had a dam and a river nearby, and they used a backhoe to dig out 2 seasons in a row. They rebuilt every time, every time. That's why they put the grate up because they would just keep rebuilding, but then the grate got flooded, so they took it down. I bet you there's gonna be beavers building in it come spring. Probably already drawn up their little plans. Third time they used explosives, they rebuilt it next season. Eventually, the military gave up. They're no match for the beavers. If y'all have not listened to the Dollop episode about the war on squirrels, you need to do that. It's a podcast. If you're not familiar, the podcast is called The Dollop. The episode is The War on Squirrels. It is very much exactly about what we are talking about here. Like, guess what? Sometimes you just can't fight natural forces. Sometimes they're just gonna beat you because this is what they do. My favorite thing about the Dollop episode about the squirrels is that, like, it's about, how squirrels have been historically this like, scourge on US agriculture, and because, you plant a whole bunch of food, and squirrels are just gonna go, "Sweet, thanks for the food," and they're gonna eat as much of it as possible, and that poses a problem when what you're trying to do is grow food for people and not for squirrels, but it's basically like this whole story of the various ways that US governments and farmers and everybody has tried to control squirrel populations, and the thing that's so funny about it that they do talk about a little bit is that it's like this massive war on the part of the humans to, like, eliminate the squirrels. The squirrels have no idea that they're even at war, even though they are constantly winning. They're just being squirrels and winning by virtue of being squirrels. Like, very much the same thing with the beaver. The military is at war with the beavers. The beavers are just like, "Oh, man, my house broke. Guess I'll build it again." Like, they're just doing their thing. The stubbornness of donkeys has nothing on the determination of beavers. Yes, absolutely. I want to have the tenacity of a beaver. All right, we've got a couple of lovely flowers. I kind of want to, I don't feel those petals are going back enough for my taste. There we go. Yay, it's a couple of flowers. I got a cat. I got a couple of flowers. We're making progress. Detail on this is looking really nice. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it. I am gonna try to do this little. I'm gonna get this little curvy bit down here of like a kind of like a daisy leaf. Da, 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 da. See, usually when people do designs like this, where it's kind of like a symmetrical design, they're usually being smart about this and only drawing half the design and then mirroring it either with like like photocopying it and lightboxing it or like using Photoshop's mirror function. No, I'm just going to do it freehand so that it's kind of wonky and not actually perfectly mirrored. Why not? Why would I make it easy on myself? Wee. I am going to need to sharpen my pencil though. We're getting to that point. It's getting kind of dull. All right. Trying to get it somewhat, like, not perfectly symmetrical, but symmetrical enough that you can tell that symmetrical is what I was sort of going for. Let's see, what else has been going on? I had the, Bangor Public Library Authors Book Fair, which was very cool because it was, all local Maine authors selling their books and talking to folks. Because it was all scattered throughout the library, which was a lot of fun, it did make it a little bit challenging for people to see everything, which was a bit of an issue. I think sometimes people didn't necessarily actually see everything. They saw like some of it and didn't realize that the rest of it was even there. Sounded like kind of an issue for some folks. All right, so the daisies portion is done. I've also still got um a couple of other types of flowers going on up here. So, but we're done with the daisies. So now I'm going to look up my other flowers. Hey, someone's saying, thanks so much for joining me. The only thing, so I enjoyed the library book fair an awful lot. I had some very fun conversations with people, some very cool conversations with people. I sold a couple of books, not a lot, but that was fine. It was neat to just see a bunch of people who were excited about books. So that was cool. The only thing that I could have, done without were the people who were like making weird comments about comics not being like real books, which I'm just like, why would you say things like that? Like, doesn't that occur to you that that's kind of rude? Like, I'm right here. I'm literally right here. And like, well, reading comics is not like real reading, and kids these days just want to look at pictures, and I'm just like, what year is it? What is going on? How are we still having this conversation? Very silly. Very goofy stuff. And the first time it happened, I was like, "What? Why would you say that?" And then I was like, "Oh, yeah, I maybe should have expected this. I should have thought of that before I got there." But I didn't. It didn't occur to me that this was a thing I was gonna have to deal with. I don't know why. Just didn't occur to me. Didn't think people were gonna be, like, intentionally lousy. I don't know. My brain didn't go there. Whew, that's a complicated little flower. But yeah, not I it was just kinda tedious, but it's like, it was fine, whatever. People say silly stuff sometimes. It's fine. It was just kind of annoying. Oh, I need to find a different reference picture. This does not answer one of my questions about how this plant works. Let's see. Let's see. Does this one show me? No, it does not. Okay, I need to look up. World is filled with silly people. It's very true. It's also just like it's just funny to me because it's like it was just funny, like especially in contrast to like the people I was having these conversations with who had like actually good conversations about comics, and how when you're reading comics you're actually like using more parts of your brain, and you're actually imbuing deeper meaning and onto the words that you're reading because of the way they combine with the visuals and everything, and, like, that's all very cool. So I was having these, like, actually high level discussions about comics with people, and then at the same time, like, 5 minutes later, someone would be like, "Oh, these are for kids then?" Like, "No." It's just silly. It's also just funny because it's like, I'm sorry, y'all. Mouse won the Pulitzer in 1992. How are we still having this conversation? How is this still a thing we're discussing? Makes no sense to me. Makes no sense to me that this is still a conversation we're having, but whatever. We Now we're gonna play a game called Name That Flower. What flower did I just draw? I'm gonna sharpen my pencil. Leave your guesses in the comments. While I sharpen my pencil and I'll start tightening up some of those details, but guess the flower. No, it is not a foxglove. Not a bad guess though. It's got a similar structure to it as far as like the central spire with the radial, radial, axial. I forget, whatever. Central stalk spire with flowers all around it, blooming bigger at the bottom and smaller at the top. Not good with flower names. Totally fair. Uh, Partially, I just hope sometimes that people will get it because I will have actually drawn it in such a way that people are like, I can recognize that flower right away. That's why I was looking up to see what the end of the stalk looks like, because that's actually like a big thing when you're identifying plants, is what the end of the stalk like ends with. Does it end with like does it end with one of the flowers? Does it end with like several of the flowers? Does it end with like the little spiny bits? Does it end with leaves? Is it one or is it several? And like in what arrangement? But that's a big part of how you identify plants. So that's why I was trying to make sure that I got that part right. Which I don't know. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. According to my reference images, I did, but I could still be confused or have gotten a bad reference image, because also people do not always identify things correctly on the internet. The internet lies sometimes, yes.
I read that quote from Abraham Lincoln.
Sometimes the internet is full of dirty, filthy liars. If you want, it is not a snapdragon. If you want a hint, the flowers are yellow. Looks familiar, even if I recognized it as a plant in my yard, I wouldn't be able to name it. That's fair. It's kind of amazing, like, how many plants we're surrounded by that we don't know the names for unless we're, like, giant plant nerds that try to memorize all the plants, which is something I've been trying to level up in lately. Last couple of years, I've made it a point to try to identify plants every time I, like, go for a walk when it's not, like, frozen out, when it's not everything isn't frozen and covered in snow and things are actually alive. That can be, like, right there, but it's gotta be on this side. Alright. Yay! It is alright, it's ding, 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 that's the buzzer. Uh, it is a gorse flower. So it's little yellow flowers and, prickles, little spiny prickles. Gorse, yeah. Gorse. Gorse. A gorse is a gorse, of course, of course. You're such a dork. Okay. It is a yellow flowered shrub of the pea family, the leaves of which are modified to form spines, native to Western Europe and North Africa. So they're not native in the Americas. They are present in some parts of the Americas as an invasive because they don't belong here, but there's a lot of stuff we have in the States that ended up here because people brought it here. You can tell from the shape of the flower that it's part of the pea family. It's got that pretty distinctive pea family ladies in bonnets look. That's the proportion on that one was all the way off. Let's try that again. Bigger eraser. Oh my gosh. There we go. So it's looking like we're already at 8:47. Looks like I'm not gonna quite finish. I'm not gonna quite finish this design this time. That's okay. We at least know more or less what we're doing with it. So that's something. That's something. Oh, that's a very weird shape. Here we go. It's almost like a little turtle beak. All right, let's sketch in the rest of this stalk. We're at 8:49. Which means it's almost time. It's almost time. Yeah. All right, so since we're in the last 10-ish minutes of the stream, I will remind you of the YouTube things. I'm Amanda Call. This is my channel where I draw cats and flowers today, apparently. This is also where you can watch me work on comic pages pretty frequently, like my webcomic, Age of Night, which you can read at ageofnight.com. The whole thing is available on ageofnight.com for free with a new page updating every week. There's going to be a new page tomorrow. And while you can read the whole thing for free, if you want to help support me, you can do so on Patreon. And patrons get cool perks and bonuses like access to all of the pages a week early, behind the scenes sneak peeks, free comics, all that good stuff. So, like, they're going to get to see next week's comic page tomorrow. Everyone else won't get to see it until next week, but the one that's everyone else is getting to see tomorrow, they already saw it a week ago. It's pretty cool. Also, it just supports me and I appreciate it. So there's that too. My appreciation is I hopefully worth so very much. Anyway. But yeah, I am here just about every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, drawing stuff. This week we're drawing just a random design of a cat and some flowers. And we'll see if I end up doing anything with it or if I just kind of have drawn this random doodle for no real reason. And I'll probably continue it next week because it does need to be inked and I'm not done drawing it. I still have more elements back here. There'll be something above the cat's head, a message or more floral elements. I haven't decided. Maybe not. It is going a little bit wider, so I kind of like the idea of it being more like a design element that's just kind of like a little bit more long. But I don't know, maybe I will decide to put something there. I haven't quite made up my mind yet. Since I am just kind of winging it here. Yeah. So that's the stuff. I don't have any other events coming up. I am now in not doing events mode for a bit. Whew, thank goodness. I'm tired. I'm just gonna try to get through the holidays and my local gaming convention and see how we manage from there. And then at some point I will reemerge for another Comic-Con season. We'll see when that happens. I don't know yet. Kind of depends. But in the meantime, you can keep up with whatever I am doing on the various social medias where you could usually find me as either Amanda Call Art or Age of Night. This does not feel sufficiently spiky. This one needs more spikes. That's better. It's better. Needed more spikes. Looking more like it. All right. So I started this stream this evening with a blank piece of paper and just a vague notion of what I wanted to put on it. At this point, I have a plan. I have a cat face and some daisies and gorse sprigs. I have a couple more elements I want to draw in here. Possibly others. I don't know. We'll see. Let me know in the comments if you think there's something else I should add. Sorry, I have the hiccups all of a sudden. Let me know in the comments if you think there's something else I should add or something else you would like to see on this, and then we will continue working on this next time because it will also I gotta finish drawing it, but it will also end up being inked. So we'll see how it turns out. Thanks everybody for hanging out with me, and I will see you all next time. Bye.